Howdy, everybody. We got both me and my brother, Josh. He's here. We're going to be talking a bit of Star Wars. Disney Star Wars is in a bit of deep trouble at the moment, both on new shows coming out, new projects working on, court cases, all kinds of nonsense. And on top of that, the internet is on fire against Disney Star Wars at the moment. So we're going to be touching
Yeah.
all of this. But first off, Joshua, I wanted to ask you a Star Wars related question.
Okay.
Did you watch The Acolyte or did you tap out?
I tapped. I went tap. I watched a lot of it. I just tapped towards the end.
What was the last full Star Wars project that you watched, whether movie or show?
I watched full. It's either probably one of the movies or the Mandalorian. Or no, the Book of Boba Fett that was about the Mandalorian.
That was the last thing you watched?
In full.
Did you watch Andor in full?
I watched Andor in bits. I did not watch every episode.
Did you watch Mandalorian season 1 and 2 in full?
Yeah.
Did you watch season 3 in full?
Yes.
You did?
Yeah. I watched all of Mandalorian, and then most of the projects after that, I've watched 70, 80, 90% of it, and then I've missed here and there where I was like, I don't need to watch this, and then I kind of jump skip so I can catch the gist. But some would say I went forward in hyperdrive.
All right.
and went and just sampled the ending to see how it would end. But
so the only thing out of Star Wars Disney stuff that I've missed, I believe, is the Legends animated series.
Okay.
I watched the first episode that was about Ahsoka, and then that's all I watched, just because it wasn't really my speed. Now, I wouldn't say most of the Disney Star Wars is my speed as of late, which is really unfortunate because Star Wars, the idea, the original IP, I'm a big fan of. So I kind of am very disappointed. However, it seems like the majority of the fan base is very disappointed. And so we're going to cover some of the recent stuff, looking at the court case. And it seems like Disney Star Wars is just kind of collapsing in on itself, which is a very strange phenomenon, but it's happening as we speak.
I think you should clarify what court case you're talking about, because I know we'll get into it when we do the video, or that portion of this live stream. But you're talking about the Gina Carano court case.
Correct.
The character from The Mandalorian season 2, season 3,
season 1, and I believe season 2.
Wait,
yeah,
okay,
season 1
so
and season 2.
Yeah, she was in both.
So Gina Carano has kind of got Disney in some hot water, I would say. So pretty much her trial that she's been fighting for, and Disney has been trying to avoid it, has been approved, and the date is set. This happened just 2 days ago, where she basically gets her trial against Disney, suing for sex discrimination, for improper discrimination, improper firing and removing from the Disney Star Wars franchise.
I had to ask, though, when you say sex discrimination, that's very vague, and I had to ask, and we had to go look it up. Did she actually get fired for? And I know we've talked about it in the past, but I was like, what did actually she get fired for? Because
right.
It's been a while, and people probably don't really remember. It was for a tweet that she created.
I don't know if it might have been a tweet. I don't really remember what platform this was on, but it was on one of the social medias. It seems like a tweet. So the term sex discrimination might be something that the lawyers are using to motivate it. It's kind of just rooted in the idea that she feels she was wrongfully fired. And I think the public has a very strong opinion about if they feel it was right or wrong. So this is what happened is after The Mandalorian season 2, she posted a comparison because she got upset with the political divide in the country, in the United States of America, right?
Mm.
So she wrote in a social media post, Jews were beaten in the streets not by Nazi soldiers, but by their neighbors, even by children. Because history is edited, most people today don't realize that to get to the point to where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jews. How is that any different from hating someone for their political views? So the context of when she posted this kind of makes it clear. I don't remember exactly the context, but it's generally the political divide. Okay. So,
Yeah.
and she left it vague so it could go either way. The point of it is political hate is wrong because it leads to something bad. We saw an example of that with Jews during Nazi Germany, right? She then got fired very soon after from Lucasfilms. And this is what a spokesperson said. Gina Carano is not currently employed by Lucasfilms, and there is no plans for her to be in the future. Nevertheless, her social media posts denigrated people based on their cultural and religious identities, are abhorrent and unacceptable. So they basically said this is insensitive to make the comparison to Jews, right?
Yes. And it seems like she's firing. She is suing Disney for probably breach of contract and back pay that they
Right.
would have owed her if she finished the show.
There's a lot of speculation, even this Forbes article that says Carano is seeking damages as a result of the situation, but most surprisingly, it looks like for an injunction that would allow her to return to her job, forcing Disney to rehire her to play Cara Dune in The Mandalorian, where she had a supporting role. Before all this, she was also on the verge of getting her own spin-off, it seemed. This, of course, seems like the most absurd part of the case, as Carano forcibly getting Disney to rehire would result in what exactly? So basically, it says that the assumption is it's not very likely that she's actually going to be put back in a Star Wars project. What she probably will seek is damages and contracts that have been broken and not paid from the firing. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Makes sense. I
yeah.
mean, it would probably, yeah, definitely be better for Disney to just pay her out and not put her on screen anymore because I guess they're probably thinking in their head like justice is being served by not putting her back on screen. So they'll just pay her out probably.
Well, Disney will always spin it as a victory, even if they lose the trial and they have to pay her, right? So the trial is set for September of next year, so about 10 months from now. They'll be in trial. It would be so juicy if this got televised like the Depp and Heard trial, but I don't think it will be.
No, this is not that important to people.
It is actually. It's a part of the culture war in some respect,
Well,
right?
yeah, but who's Gina Carano? I don't want to downplay and say she's not important, but like she's not somebody that we grew up watching play Jack Sparrow our whole lives.
Right. She's
And
not a superstar, you
yeah.
know. But I think she's gained in popularity more than the shows made her popular, right? Because of this.
This is interesting with Disney. It seems like he's getting sued more and more of late.
Yeah.
I mean, if it be for they're trying to screw somebody out of contract because of Disney Plus rights for streaming, if they are trying to screw people out, they don't want them, they don't agree with them politically, so they fire them and they don't pay them what they're due. If they do this, it seems, or even I think
Well,
Yeah,
there's not
even
a bunch of stuff with Disney firing people and
well,
going to
not
court for it.
not firing, no, this, but just like things where they have in the fine wording of your Disney Plus subscription, you can't
Oh,
sue
right.
them over someone dying at their park. And just it seems like more and more lately, Disney is
Well,
they're
they've been doing
bailing into
slimy
court.
business
Yeah.
practices, right? They've been real slimy for the past few years. They might have always been slimy,
They're
but here's the
slimier
thing.
than a slug.
In the world, in the information age, in the internet commentary age, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where everyone can leak some information on X and it doesn't get suppressed, it gets amplified. Everyone starts talking about it. We make videos on it, all kinds of stuff. You just can't really hide it. So on some level, there might have always been this slimy business practices, but now it's coming to light. Like in the early 2000s or the 90s, how would you have heard that Disney wasn't able, Disney wasn't getting sued because of fine print they had in some kind of agreement that they had Disney World customers sign, even though someone died at the park. Like it could have been happening,
We
but
just didn't know about it.
unless the newspaper decided to print it, no one would know.
I mean, and two, I think Disney is more than just Disney. I know Disney has always
Yeah.
been Disney. They've done the Disney Pixar thing for a
Hmm.
long time now, and then they've always had the parks. But um, now Disney seems more than just those entities. They have, Lucasfilms, they have Marvel Entertainment, they have Disney, they have like it's all capsulated under Disney, but there's more branches of the Disney now.
So Disney owns ESPN, A plus E Network, Disney Interactive Studios. They own Fox, or at least a part of it. Film Studios. They own National Geographic. They own Marvel Studios. They own 20th Century Fox, or at least a part of it. I remember when they made that purchase. They have Lucasfilms.
Mhm,
So yeah, there's a lot. ESPN, that's sports.
mhm,
ESPN. I know they also own a big chunk of Hulu, right?
mhm.
I know they own the traditional media places. I don't know if it's MSNBC or something, but Disney owns one of the popular mainstream media outlets. And that still handles the news. So Disney owns a lot of subcategory companies, right?
Yeah.
It's obviously not just Disney, but all of these are separate LLCs under the parent company of Disney. So
Mhm.
yeah, there's a lot that goes on. It's very big business. And what's interesting is Bob Iger seems to be in the news more than anybody he probably feels comfortable being in the news, right? I mean, even a year ago when he came out and said that they were going to be scaling back on the amount of projects as well as the heavy messaging. Do you remember when we watched that
Yes.
interview?
Yes.
And it was like a weird outside interview with a reporter. The audio was bad.
Mr. Bob.
Yeah. And it doesn't seem like they're executing on that yet, but that leads us to the next point. There is with Lucasfilms going down and down and down and down, there has been rumors online
Mhm.
that Disney might eventually sell Lucasfilms in probably the not too distant future. There's no public statement that supports that, right?
How much they want? We got it. We'll buy it for 100,000.
But here's one of the indications. So we're getting into levels of conspiracy. Until we hear
Mhm.
something, there's no way to confirm it. But here's another thing. This is a really big online at the moment. There's a lot of rumors that saying that people have been hearing and leaking from low-level employees that Disney's going to cancel the Ray movie, the movie
Yeah.
that this activist documentarian director, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy,
Yeah, which I knew
is going to direct.
I don't know nothing about.
We talked about it. Maybe it was just me and Wyatt, but we talked about it. And now they're saying it may not actually even happen. Now there's Screen Rant's writing articles saying there's no evidence that it's not going to happen or it's going to be canceled in any way. But the fact that this is like stirring, it's kind
It's
of like, where
possible.
is this information coming from, right?
Yeah, it is
Where there's
definitely
smoke, there's usually fire.
yeah, it's definitely very likely that this is gonna happen. I don't know what happened to Daisy Ridley. It feels like she dropped off the face of the earth. I know she's
Yeah, she's
been
been playing in
in
some
a
lower
few
level
things
films.
here and there, but it seemed like she did Disney and then she left for a while and then she pops up here and there, but doesn't feel like she's in the limelight. Like some of these actors that do a big project to like be star in a Disney movie and then that kind of bumps them into stardom. And
Well,
so
she was recently in the news because some reporter asked her what she thought of all the Star Wars hate of the sequels, right? That she was
yeah.
in. And she said, oh, instead of just saying something like, oh, I can't focus on negativity, I'm just going to keep doing my thing. She added, you can't control how some men view women. So she made the fact that people didn't like the sequels a sexist
Mm.
thing. All right. So she's on the verge of starting to say too much in the same way that um,
Better be careful.
Cynthia Evero from the Wicked movie just came out and she had some gripes and she complained
Oh,
to a
oh.
fan in the same way that Rachel Zegler has been
Yes,
a problem,
Rachel.
in the same way that
Although with
Amanda
those
Stenberg hasn't been a problem, you know?
although with both of those actresses, they have already shot their movie and now they're talking mad just
Nonsense.
nonsense. So they haven't shot the Ray movie as far as we know.
I
So
don't think they've even come close to starting production on this thing.
no, so if she says something a little bit too much, oh, we gotta get rid of Ray. She's saying a little too much. We gotta
Well,
get rid of
Well, they
Daisy
get
Ridley.
they did the whole Acolyte show with a bunch of nonsense. As it was coming
Yeah.
out, they dropped the Amanda Stenberg went on The View to talk about the racist fans. She made a diss track at the fans, like,
Yeah, but the show
whoa,
was already made at that point. What are they gonna do? Just
tell
that
her
would
to
be
stop.
crazy. That
Tell her
would
to
be
stop.
crazy if Disney was getting so much backlash that they mid-season cut it off. They just said like they released like it's supposed to be an 8-episode show and they just cut it off at 3 because they can't handle anymore. They're just like, we're cutting it off. We're done.
Well, on
And
one of my videos last week, I believe, I made the point that I think is very correct is they heard the actors and the activists saying like, "Oh, we're getting so much racist backlash." And then the executives, probably Bob Iger, because he's kind of old Hollywood,
Mr.
he's
Bob.
a shill. He's a shill for sure because he's let this happen inside of Disney. But at the same time, he's also old Hollywood and he kind of has seen what our successes in the past, decades and what are failures. And I think he watched The Acolyte and he said, I agree with the people that are saying this is bad. And also, I would be willing to say, like, hey, not only is The Acolyte bad, but we casted some horrible actors that are causing problems. This doesn't get a season 2. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
So it makes sense. And it's all pointing towards the fact that Disney has made some really bad decisions in the name of being progressive that has just slapped him in the face.
Yeah. Do you have what other Disney Star Wars news do you have?
Right, right, right. So we've all seen the trailer for the Skeleton Crew. It's the next
Which that
Disney
looks cool.
Plus.
It
Yeah,
looks cool.
listen, he can make anything look cool. You know, I mean, there's still creative cinematographers and artists in Hollywood. That doesn't mean that the story's any good. However, the Skeleton Crew is the next Disney Star Wars project that's going to be coming out in Disney Plus in December. And already the people who really like The Acolyte are freaking out. All right.
Mhm.
Partly is because of this. A few months ago, there was some reports that said Skeleton Crew, according to the Roach says, isn't being received very well at Lucasfilms. And it's not just them. There's been multiple reports since then that saying Skeleton Crew is not doing well, according to the pre-screenings, according to reviews, according to inside of Lucasfilms. It's not screening well. You know what I mean?
What the Skeleton Crew, as far as the trailer is, what we see from the trailer and things that have come out, it feels like we were talking about this off recording, off video. It feels like they're trying to do a Steven Spielberg movie, like a Super 8, but
it feels like the Goonies, right? That's what everyone online is saying.
But there's one thing that the Goonies had that Disney's never going to give to the kids.
What is that?
What was it? It was back in the 80s, and Steven Spielberg he wanted it to feel real. And so he didn't make it look the kids be perfect. He made them cussing. He gave them imperfections of just them dropping an F-bomb in there. And you're like, that 10-year-old just Disney's never gonna do that.
Well, and they are also doing like what was the dude when the kid took his shirt off and did the jiggles? What was it? The truffle shuffle?
Yeah.
Was it the truffle?
Yeah. I mean, everybody loves a shuffle.
Everyone loves the truffle shuffle.
And give one of your characters, name him Chunk, and make him do the truffle shuffle.
All right. Well, listen to this. There's people online. The people who were supporting The Acolyte and were really upset that The Acolyte got canceled for season 2 are starting to say, with the upcoming Skeleton Crew, they're starting to online say Disney films did not stand up for the racism that was in The Acolyte. They have to protect the kids from these toxic fans and bullying. All right. And I did find this information. Just want to give him a quick shout out on Drunk 3PO. He's a little bit more harsher with his content. That's fine. I enjoy his stuff. But he found some of this information. He found some of these social media posts.
Drunk 3PO?
Drunk 3PO. He's a popular Star Wars channel. Don't hate on it.
Well, I was just going to say, it sounds like Critical Drinker. Is he affiliated with Critical Drinker?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
So we have a couple people that are saying, Lucasfilms, please protect these children when the show comes out. Skull Cattern says, protect these children. And then Star Wars lore guy says, these kids are amazing and perfect. We need to protect them. I can't wait for Skeleton Crew. It's going to be perfect. Look, I am not going to say a thing. I'm not going to say it's going to be perfect. I'm not going to assume anything about this. I'm going to watch the show and I am going to review it respectively. I'm also going to come into it knowing that this is an open door for kids to enjoy a kid adventure inside Star Wars. I'm not going to hate on it, the fact that it's a kid show. I also, no matter how bad it is or good it is at any level, I'm not going to criticize and bully the kid actors. I'm a critic of The Acolyte. I pointed out all of the issues, and nobody, including myself, attacked Amandla Stanberg until she started doing diss tracks and calling the fans racist.
I don't know if that's true.
It's partly true. The heaviest criticism that we said and the whole internet was saying was that she does not know how to act good. She does not emote her face, which is a very true criticism to give to another adult who probably got paid way more than they should have been for that role.
What if you had a Goonies Super 8 type movie inside of the Star Wars universe? How would you do it? How would you do it to make people like it and love it? Make them feel like it's Star Wars, but not too much of like it's a Remember Berries, and yet it would be a fun adventure thing.
Man, you're asking me a question that I haven't even begun to plot out yet.
Yeah.
Well, number one, I like their choice from the trailer. If you guys haven't seen it, you should check it out. The Skeleton Crew.
Yeah.
Trailer. I like that they're not on Tatooine, thank goodness, because we've been on Tatooine so much.
We've been on Tatooine a lot.
And it would make sense. Be like, let's do kids on Tatooine. I'm glad that they didn't do that. The trailer makes it seem like they get a hold of a spaceship and they leave their their home planet and go on an adventure in the galaxy. That seems a bit far-fetched for kids unless they're early, they have some kind of adult intervention there. However, I can't say that's necessarily the wrong plot points. It's just a matter of scene to scene doesn't make sense. Do we have a roller coaster of emotion to follow the tempo of a story? Do we have a setup that's really clear and strong for these characters? Do we have the confrontation? And do we have a very strong conclusion as well? And so there's a lot of aspects to it that could make it bad. I don't think what I see from the trailer that the premise is bad, and nor do I have a disliking to the fact that it's a kid's show. I think it would be an interesting take, and I'm way open to it, and I'll watch it because it's Star Wars. But I'm going to give my honest criticism, and it's not going to be hateful or bullying towards kid actors. Of course not.
Yeah.
I mean, but at the same time,
well, I would like to see this. Almost feels like, from what I saw, never mind. I'm not going to go down. That's kind of going down another rabbit trail. Yeah.
I mean, what do you think? What do you think? Do you think it's completely irrational to think that people who are fans of Star Wars, who are critical of the Acolyte, isn't it such an over-exaggeration from your perspective for them to claim that we are just going to attack and bully children because it's the next Star Wars project that's coming out? And if the show is bad, that people online are just going to bully young kids? Do you think that's even based on what you saw of the critique of the Acolyte, that's even a rational point to take it to assume on people?
I know what these people are saying, and I'm gonna stand with them a little bit. I'm gonna be like here, kind of in the middle between both of you, because I think these are fans of Star Wars. They grew up with Star Wars, and like Star Wars Theory, he had to have been like a kid and been like, I love Luke Skywalker is cool and Chewbacca, and like that it's something from his childhood that he grew up with. And people are just hating on it so much that he's frustrated with it. But on the other hand, he can see the things that Lucasfilm's doing of, like I said, making a kid's adventure movie or show would be fun. But if it doesn't have if it's all perfect and these kids are just kind of like, it's cheesy, there's no roller coaster there of, like I said, like give it some grit to it, then it's going to be dumb, cheesy, and boring. And they can see, these people who are asking us not to criticize the kids can see that. But they love Star Wars so much that they are frustrated. And all they can do is say, don't criticize them, when that's not the solution. I think we need to criticize, but also figure out how to meet in the middle and say, okay, how can we fix this then?
Look, my perspective is, yes, we're not going to bully and attack children because children don't have control over if they were a good choice to be cast or not. They got casted, okay? They acted in the role. And so I'm not going to, and we're definitely not going to come at him with any kind of race critiques. Definitely not. However, the story is the point of criticism. We can, if this is bad, which I don't feel like there's any super strong indications that it will be, other than we just coming off the heels of the Acolyte, but it's not the same creators. It's different, right? And Star Wars Theory, to bring up your point, he did a reaction to the trailer. He thought it looked fun, and he was a huge critic of the Acolyte. So what I'm saying is, I do not think it's a reasonable assumption to assume that people that were critics of the Acolyte are going to become bullies and mean-spirited towards these kid actors just because they don't like the show that they were in. They're going to be critical of the writers. They're going to be critical of the direction of Disney Star Wars, period. They're not going to attack the kids. Of course not.
No.
But they think it's the same. They think if you're critical of Disney Star Wars, then you're a bully and you attack, because that's what they've turned criticism that are fans of Star Wars who dislike the Disney current Star Wars. You know what I mean? They've made them one and the same, and I refuse to accept that harsh, ridiculous narrative, because it's incorrect and it's just wrong to kind of put on legacy Star Wars fans who just want really good Star Wars. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. What else do you got?
That's it. That's all I have.
I got nothing else to say about the criticism of the kids. Is Skeleton Crew? I think by watching the trailer, you can kind of predict how this is gonna go, especially with Disney.
I don't know, man.
I'll take a peek at it. Like, I've peeked at all the Disney stuff.
Well, hold on. I was critical of Andor when I saw the trailer. I thought it was going to be not good.
Yeah.
I watched Andor.
I'll peek at it just like I peeked at many of the shows that Disney has done. I've been peeking. I'm peeking a little bit. I'm looking around the corner, peeking, and if I don't like what I see, then I'm going to go back. But let's give it a chance. And we're not going to criticize the kids, but we will be criticizing the directors. And
we're going to be critiquing whether it's positive views with minor critiques, or it's the whole thing is a big mess and we need to critique it. We're going to point out issues, of course, but it could just be praise. Like, I had a few critiques for Andor, but overall it was just lots of praise. Mm-hmm. I saw the trailers and the teasers for Andor. I did reactions to them. I wasn't too impressed. I didn't think it was going to be good, especially after the Kenobi. I think Kenobi came out right before Andor. And then I was like, how on earth is Andor so amazing and Kenobi is so bad? And I kind of figured it out. You had Deborah Cho, who is kind of a DEI director's hire, to direct the entire season of Kenobi. And then you have someone like Tony Gilroy, who wasn't a director, but he's the creator of Andor. So he wrote and he produced it and everything. And he's a really good story writer. Like, he made a really engaging Star Wars story. And it's just should have been flipped. You know what I mean?
What was the Netflix 2-part movie that came out that was supposed to be a Star Wars?
Rebel Moon.
Aren't you glad that we didn't get a Star Wars Rebel Moon?
I'm so glad we didn't get a freaking Zack Snyder Star Wars. You know what I mean? Because Rebel Moon sucked, man. Rebel Moon sucked.
This is a whole other topic, and I'm just gonna mention this. No, I'm not gonna get into it. I was just gonna
this live has been you going like, how about this? How about this? Nah, never mind.
No. I was gonna make some comments about Zack Snyder, and then I decided not to, because
all right.
I don't know. I listened to him, and I watched his Joe Rogan episode and saw him as a person, and I have some thoughts, but this is not my opinion on Zack Snyder tonight.
Yeah. He's probably right up there with like Michael Bay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're different filmmakers, but they approach things very similarly.
They're holding hands, skipping through a meadow of sparklers and fireworks.
They're like,
there's sparks going around, and they're just both skipping, holding hands.
Their priorities approaching filmmaking is like explosions, action, and boobies. You know what I mean? That's their approach.
Yeah. I guess that's all we have tonight.
That's all we got. That's all we got
for Monday all weekend. We'll be back tomorrow night for a live, or Joseph will be back for a live tomorrow night. So tune in next week, or tomorrow. not next week. Tomorrow. I don't know why I said next week. Tune in tomorrow and next week for Monday all weekend.
Too many call to actions. You're doing too
yes.
many call to actions. Just
We'll
say,
see
show
you.
up tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Hit the end screen. Play the outro.
Good grief! Stop.
Just play.
We
the
can't
outro.
even ask for a subscribe and a like now because you've had too many CTA.
Just play the outro. Get me out of this.
All right. Later, everybody. See you next time.